baseball history, guys, and I am here ready to come to you with lots of history. Yeah. So I'm up looking at my screen here, and I guess, can you see me okay, guys? It just felt like it's dark for some reason. Let me try something else here. Let me try something else here. See if I can get even brighter. Okay. Well, I guess that's where I am. I'm trying to see if I can get anything brighter. Got a little. Okay. So hopefully you can see me okay. Hey, I just want to thank everybody for being supportive of my broadcast, and um, I just appreciate that, guys. This past week, we've grown by leaps and bounds. Once I got to 700 subscribers, man, we went right past that, like in a whirlwind. And so now we're getting ready to go and do some other stuff. So 714, that's, hey, we were just trying to get to 700 just a couple of days ago. So once again, I'm not going to push it too hard until we get about 750, and then I'll go back and start talking about it again. So thank you very much for your support. It's been wonderful. Just coming on every night, and boy, it's a challenge to come on every night and talk about some things. So I will tell you this, 714, that is a good number. Babe Ruth probably remembers that number. So anyway, hey, it's kind of funny that we stop on 7 and 14. Isn't that interesting? Maybe I should have had a Babe Ruth story. I'll give you a Babe Ruth story tonight just for that, okay? My personal Babe Ruth story and how they got me interested. So this is today's edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. Of course, this is the March 19th, 2026 edition. And so I'm going to jump right in there because, like I said, I went to a classmate's birthday party today, and I just got home. So I said, let me run in here and do the broadcast. I had kind of prepped for it yesterday. And as always, I'm using my spreadsheet that I started putting together about 30 years ago. So it has lots of information that I can bring to you that people aren't talking about. And because I enjoy baseball so much, I always look for unique things. Right? Even as a collector, I tried to collect things that I thought were unique because I just love interesting collectibles. So anyway, why don't I go ahead and get started? And I think I'm going to take you back to, oh, wait a minute. Before I do that, I do want to mention this because I was talking about Charlie Pride last night. If you want to go back and look at that particular broadcast, you can. And this is the book that I had. I said I have a book on Charlie Pride, and I have the one I talked about Tom Gordon last night. And he had the book, the Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. I think that's the name of it. And I couldn't find that one. I have it here on my shelf, so I'm kind of looking for it. But yeah, I do have the Charlie Pride book. And guess what, guys? Even better is that on the inside of this book, let me find it here. How about that? Charlie Pride signed it. So I have the signed edition of Charlie Pride. And I probably need to go back and read that a little bit more and freshen up on some Charlie Pride, right? And Kiss an Angel, Good Morning. Love Her Like the Devil Till She Gets Back Home. Man, that's a good song, isn't that? That's a good song. And I think last night I mentioned Charlie Rich. Hey, did you happen to see the most beautiful girl? Now, don't get me singing that. Right? I'm not a singer, but I can carry a tune. All right. So we're going to jump right into baseball. All right. So we're going to go to March 19th, 1900. And on this particular day, the East Liverpool Evening Review reports that Charles Howard, the baseball player who played left field and pitched for the Cuban Giants last year, which would have been 1899, will be taken to a Pittsburgh hospital this week. And they did not list his ailment in that particular article. But now I will tell you this, I did some more research, and I've got a whole file on Mr. Charles Howard because he was later murdered, actually. And so anyway, I do have this great file on him. And so anyway, somebody put all these 667. That actually, if you talk to young people, it means nothing. So anyway, so we're going to stay with baseball. Guys, you got something? Go ahead and put something interesting up, right? Let me know where you're joining from. That's always great. So anyway, let me go back to Charles Howard. Okay, so they did not list what his ailment was. So I went back and started doing some research. And so back on January the 4th, all right, the same newspaper, an article titled Among the Sick, wrote that Charles Howard well-known man from Chester, Pennsylvania, is ill. And so they're letting you know that something's going on with him. Then they said on March 16th, it was reported, and this was before March 19th again, that many friends of Charles Howard, the colored ball player, are taking a subscription to send him to a hospital. So they're still talking about this ailment. And then it added, it is feared he has consumption. Now, I don't know if you know what consumption is. That was a name also given to tuberculosis. Yeah, and many African Americans died from tuberculosis. In the 1930s, my grandmother passed away from tuberculosis. Then I had two aunts that passed away from tuberculosis at that same period in the 1930s. So it was definitely in my family and in my community in Kansas City, Kansas. We lost a lot of people to tuberculosis. And what's interesting is some of the symptoms were the same symptoms that you had with COVID. And how about this? Some of the things that help you were some of the same things that help you with COVID. Like, for instance, being outdoors in the fresh air. That was a way to avoid um, the consumption or tuberculosis, because if you're around, or if you drank after someone, ate after someone, any of that, you could actually get that consumption and pass away. So my parents, when I was born, my mother was 42, my father was 49. So they came through that period where they saw a lot of people pass away who had consumption. And so that I always knew that word consumption. I didn't know it was actually tuberculosis, but I knew the word consumption. So they're saying that they fear that Charles Howard has consumption. And then finally, on May 18th, it was reported that Howard uh, is still in the city. And then they said he received an offer to play with the Cuban Giants this year, but could not accept it owing to ill health. And so then I looked further ahead. So I was looking back, and I looked ahead. That same year, on September 14th, it was reported that Howard left today for Pittsburgh, where he will enter a homeopathic hospital. So, and I would tell you guys, he did get past that tuberculosis, but in the black baseball, we lost a lot of great players to tuberculosis. One of my all-time favorites was a guy by the name of Bill Lindsay. He passed away from tuberculosis. Bill Pettis passed away from tuberculosis. I'm trying to think who else that jumps right out. I know those two, they just, I can't forget those two because I've written considerably about them. So, and then I will also tell you in my book, A Harvest on Freedom's Fields by Andrew Ruth Foster. Here it is right here. This book here. This book here, I write about Ruth Foster's family. He lost several members to his family to tuberculosis. So it was definitely something that we had to deal with, and it was in other communities, but it was really rampant in the African American community. Okay, so just want to let you know consumption and Charles Howard. Have you ever heard of Charles Howard? Yeah, he was quite the story. He has quite a story. I'm going to actually relate that story to you one of these days. Okay, and so anyway, let's go to another one. March 10th. Now, let's see, March 19, 1910. Richard Thomas Subby Bias is born in Beaumont, Texas, and he was an American Giants catcher, played with Chicago American Giants, played with several teams in the Negro National League, and he had one of baseball's highest IQs. And many years ago, I would go to Chicago, and I would go to Subby Bias's house and sit there and talk to him, and he was a great supporter and just an interesting man to talk to. Richard Subby Bias, and yeah, I have great memories, and I have letters that he had written to me and that are in my collection there. Richard Subby Bias. So, guys, I don't know. I will also tell you this, that years ago, when I released a baseball card set called Dixon's Negro League Greats in 1987, I included Subby Bias in that set. And so I've written a lot on Subby Bias through the years, but I actually knew the man. And I credit that to just being interested in this history and going and getting in my car and driving to Chicago on the weekend. And I would go there, and I met so many people in Chicago. Jimmy Crutchfield was there, Shook Kinneas, used to go by Double Duty Ratcliffe's house. And I'm trying to think of what his name is. He lived, oh shucks. Um, he played during like 1949, right in that period. But I met a lot of those guys there. Dave Malarcia had passed away, so I didn't get a chance to meet him. Uh, Jack Marshall was one that I talked to all the time up there. So Jack Marshall, he was another great one too. So yeah, just know Richard Subby Bias is one that you have to look him up. And when I say he had one of the highest IQs, well, he went to a school, the same school. Actually, he was in Ruth Foster's son's graduating class. Yeah, they graduated together, and so that was Earl Foster. And so he told me lots of interesting stories about Earl, and uh, and they went to Wendell. Let's see, what was that? I think it was. I want to say Wendell Phillips school. You might correct me on that one, but that was the same school that Ted Strong went to. Now, it wasn't a black school, it was a mixed school. And so, but they all attended that school in Chicago. And when Bias was in high school, they played a game because he was one of the few black players on the baseball team. And they played a game in Chicago's Wrigley Field, a championship game, which makes him one of probably the first black baseball player to ever play in Wrigley Field. So I probably need to go back and do a little more research on that one and bring you up to date on that. So just know that Richard Subby Bias is somebody that you ought to know. Good guy, and we talked about his test scores, and he told me how they tested his IQ and why he was so heavy with that IQ. So he actually was talking to me about education, things like that. Richard Subby Bias, right? Okay. So, all right. So let's go to March 19th, 1954. So, man, this was a couple of years before I was born. The Kansas City Call newspaper reported that there are 16 teams in the American and National League. Most people know that. They had 8 in each one. So it's 16 altogether. And every team except 3 has an African American player on their roster. And so, who were those 3 teams? Do you remember who those 3 teams were? I'm saying now, if you're a baseball guy and you're listening, and you can name one of those teams, or just name one right quick if somebody's in here listening, and I'll tell you what they were. So, anybody want to take a shot? All right. Well, I'll go ahead and tell you what they were. There was only 3 teams that didn't have them. So here we go. There was the Detroit Tigers in the American League. Then it was the Boston Red Sox in the American League. And over in the National League, there was one, and that was the Philadelphia Phillies. Wow. How about that? And that was the last 3 teams. They were the holdouts, you might say. And this is 1954. Remember, Jackie Robinson had broke the color barrier in 1947. What was taking them so long? You ever thought about that? Why did they not want to put an African-American ball player on their roster? They could have found some. There's no doubt about it. And it wouldn't have cost you much. You could get a ball player from the Negro Leagues that was worth hundreds of $1,000s for $15,000, $20,000. And 20, it was on the high side. A lot of those guys were purchased for $5,000, all right? And then a promise of $5,000 later on. So anyway, how about this one? What are the Phillies? They were the last National League team. What are the Phillies doing today? How many black players do they have? Now, I look, there's a guy named Taiwan Emmanuel Walker, and he plays for the Phillies. But do they have any other African-American players? Have you looked into this? Guys, if someone would look into that and check out and see if there's anyone else besides Walker, I certainly would appreciate that. And let me know what's in their minor league system, too. So we're bringing this history from the back, 1900, now we're up to 1954. And look, I jump right in to 2026. How about that? We just move all over the place with this broadcast. So as far as I know, there's one African-American starter. Now, when I say African-American, this is somebody who's black that was born in America. All right. So we were just kind of curious about that. And the Phillies, they haven't been doing that great a job. But think about it. All of those cities, Boston, and also, so we had Boston, and then we had Detroit. And Detroit had a large black population. So somebody said they had McCutcheon, yep, a few years ago. But who do they have now? That's the question, right? So look up this guy. He's a pitcher by the name of Taiwan, Taijuan, Emmanuel Walker. All right. Okay. So, but just imagine this: how many black people would have came to the games in Detroit through that period? You know, Detroit had a massive black population there, and so they're not doing anything. And same thing with Philadelphia. Philadelphia had a large black population. Kind of makes you wonder. They probably said they couldn't find anybody, but we know that was a lie. All right, let's keep it going. Okay. All right, so how about this? March 19th, 1965, the GOAT. I think he was the greatest of all time, a guy by the name of John Henry Lloyd, Pops Lloyd, an infielder, shortstop. He died in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And how about this, guys? If you want to go to MapQuest and look up and see what's in his neighborhood where he lived at 7909 North Avenue in Atlantic City. That's where he lived. And of course, when he passed away, he was buried in Atlantic City in, uh, in the cemetery there, Section S, Lot 910 through 913. That's John Henry Lloyd. Now, that's some detail, guys. And if you read my book, the 1910 Chicago Leland Giants, of which he was a member, and he was a great player on that team, but he was so good that they had Grant Home Run Johnson play second base that year instead of shortstop. But anyway, John Henry Lloyd was just a great one. But the best hitter on that team, without doubt, was Pete Hill. Pete Hill was outstanding, and for many years. And he's a guy that probably should have gone into the Hall of Fame way before a bunch of other people. I ain't gonna say probably. It's no doubt about it. He should have been there way earlier, and he didn't get in 2000 until 2006. And there are others that I can talk about that still need Hall of Fame recognition. Okay, so that was John Henry Pops Lloyd. Yeah, a great one. So we're going to end up with one. And this guy, I didn't actually interview him, but interesting thing, I interviewed someone that was a part of his legacy. So on March 19, 1979, pitcher Jack Matchett passed away in Los Angeles, California. He was born in Palestine, Texas in 1908. Of course, he played for the Kansas City Monarchs. That was most of his ball was with the Kansas City Monarchs. Interesting thing was, in the years he was with the Kansas City Monarchs, there was a story that a lady had shot at him, and of course she missed, down on Vine Street, and so he was able to hustle and get away. And interesting thing was, I talked to the lady who shot at him. I can't make this stuff up. You know, I went and talked to everybody, and her name was Julia May Jones. Yeah, and I went and talked to her, and she told me the whole story of why she took a shot at Jack Matchett. She could have ended it all there, guys. And this was in the 1940s, and I interviewed her in the 1980s. And yep, sure did. Julia May Jones. She was a bartender down on Vine Street. She used to work with Bill Lindsay, the famous pitcher of Chicago American Giants. Well, he had an older brother, and he was a bartender at the bar where she worked down on Vine Street. So she had lots of stories about Bill Lindsay's brother as well. She knew his whole family and everything, which helped me put some of the Bill Lindsay legacy together. I would tell you this: Bill Lindsay had 7 brothers, and would you believe that none of those brothers ever had children? Isn't that something? None of the brothers ever had children, including Bill Lindsay. So they were out of Lexington, Missouri, and if it hadn't been for baseball, they would have been working in the coal mine permanently. So baseball gave them a chance to get out of the coal mine. And I wrote it. Listen, I'm trying to think where I've written about. Well, I wrote about it quite a bit in this book because he did appear on the 1910 Chicago Leland Giants at the last month of the season. So William Bill Lindsay. So guys, that's about it for me. This is a late start, and like I say, guys, for me, I had this birthday party I had to go to, so I'm just happy to give you some of these facts tonight. So guys, I do want to say thank you again for getting me to 700, guys. And look, well, we're going to be at 750 and lickety split, guys. And so the way you can help me is to share the broadcast. If you know somebody who likes baseball, and have them share the broadcast to them, and then have them come over and subscribe themselves so they can pick up on it. Also, guys, I do want to say that I have now got over 400 lives, including shorts, into the YouTube on YouTube. So one of these days, somebody's going to go back and start looking at these, and they're going to be amazed at the information that I dropped here. Right, more information than you can get anywhere else. Somebody said, "You, hey, thank you very much. I'm glad. Hopefully, that's a good thing." You remind me. Hopefully, that's a good thing, right? What is a Saba? SABA. What is that? Someone help me out. What is that? I'm not sure what that is. I'm into learning something. Is that like a father or uncle or cousin or what is that? SABA. So let me know. So anyway, just a quick summary of what we did tonight. We started off in East Liverpool, Ohio, with Charles Howard. We jumped over to Chicago with Richie Subby Bias, who was born in Beaumont, Texas. So we got a little Texas in there. Then one thing we did not do, I'm going to go back. I'm going to mention that one. But then I jumped over to the Kansas City Call, talking about the three teams that are yet to integrate in up until 1954. Then we talked about John Henry Lloyd. Then we talked about John Henry Lloyd in Atlantic City, so we're back east. And then I jumped all the way to the West Coast with Jack Matchett. One thing that I did have here was something, I didn't put this one here. See, I've got 21 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and mention it. Okay, so March 19th, 1916, according to the Oakland Tribune, the crack Oakland Oak Leafs is to hold their final practice game this coming Sunday afternoon at 18th and Wood Street Park against a bunch of All-Stars. And this will be their final workout as they open up the season Friday at the University of California Diamond against a fast University of California team at 2:30. So, and they said this game should be a number as the Oak Leafs have the classiest bunch of ball players in the West. Okay, have you ever heard of Oakland Oak Leafs? Yeah, these are names. I'm just dropping a lot of names. So Captain Chet Bost, Bost, will send his strongest lineup against Coach Zamlock's team and promises to furnish some exciting baseball before the game is over. And they are waiting for their new pitcher to arrive. And it's, by the way, his name is Jimmy Claxton. And he's a star pitcher, and he's going to arrive Monday from Portland. And he is in fine shape to bend them over, is that what they said. Now, one thing I would tell you about Jimmy Claxton, in case you don't know this, he was probably one of the last players to play in a minor league, a white minor league, before Jackie Robinson, because they put him in the game, and he actually appears on a Z-Nuts baseball card because they thought he was Native American, but he's really black. And so he actually made a baseball card. He actually got on a baseball card, right? And his name is Jimmy Claxton. And so he was up around the Tacoma, Seattle area. That's where he passed away. You can look that up. But just know Jimmy Claxton, and they're waiting for him to arrive to play with the Oakland Oak Leafs in 1916. And they said he is a world beater. And he was awfully good. So anyway, guys, that does it for me. This is Phil Dixon with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. I do want to thank everybody for joining me. And somebody said, Jesus love you. Have a blessed day. Thank you very much. I will appreciate that. And God truly has blessed me. And so I certainly appreciate that. And I know where my blessings come from. It's not anything that I've done, but it's all the things that God put into me. And he's directed my steps, and that's why I can celebrate my 46th year of being a black baseball historian. And I don't know how many years I've been dealing with baseball, since about third or fourth grade, fifth grade, right in there. So, all right. So thank you, guys. I'll see you tomorrow with another edition. So I hope you've enjoyed yourself tonight. And be sure and share the broadcast, and be sure to subscribe. And we'll just keep on talking over and over and over till we can reach enough people to make this community just blow up. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a nice evening. I'll see you real soon. Bye.